What if I showed you a communication skill that could transform your marriage? Taking those moments when you're searching desperately for the right words to get her to go from tense, shut down, angry, to taking a deep breath and saying, "You're right." Now, this skill was so transformative that it empowered Chris to experience something he never thought possible.
She came up to me and we were having a conversation. And then in the middle of the conversation, she said, "You know, I was wrong
Oh,
and
wow.
I'm sorry." And I'm like, and her, she was raised by parents who never apologized. And so she never apologized to me for anything, even though she was 100% wrong. And I was like floored by that.
That's right. This may be the biggest win of all time. A wife admitting her fault in things. In all seriousness, this video will show you what that one powerful skill is, which, by the way, is the third lesson of the 3 that Chris used to transform his marriage.
We are totally fine. Along the way, she said, "I see changes in you."
So let's jump in. Now, Chris was married for nearly 25 years before his first wife passed away. Recently, he made a discovery about those years that shocked him. And I have to admit, it surprised me too. Now, I'll share that in a minute. However, Chris has been married for almost a year to his second wife, a woman he's known since his childhood. Although fate brought them back together, their new marriage quickly faltered under the weight of past baggage. But what was Chris's reaction to these challenges? It's something that so many guys do that melts away attraction that the wife had faster than a snowflake in the sun. And this is the nice guy paradigm. Just the guy that doesn't express his needs, but at the same time expects his wife to meet them, who's in his feminine, the guy we talk about on this channel a lot, right? Now, I'll touch more on this nice guy behavior in a minute and why it's damaging to your marriage, but let's start here. See, Chris was up for a desperate solution. He took his time searching online for all these different programs and advice, and when he came across my channel, he knew he was in the right place.
And you knew exactly what was happening in my relationship. I mean, everything you said in that video was like, yes, check, 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 check. Oh my goodness, this guy knows exactly what I'm going through without knowing me or my situation. Like, he knows my situation from not knowing my situation. And so I figured, oh man, if this guy knows all of that, I think I can trust what he says.
When Chris dove into the inner work he had to do, it led him right to his first habit, a foundational step that became the basis for the elite skill he would master. Now, grasping this will help you unlock deeper self-awareness, setting you up to be better, to understand her needs and her emotions, which in turn will pave the way for more intimacy and fulfilling connection. I'll let Chris set up the context for this first one, and it is a shocking revelation that may surprise you.
This is a second marriage for me. And my first marriage, my wife passed away. After almost 25 years. And so when my wife told me, she asked me the question, "How did you communicate with your wife?" And I was like, "Well, we talked." "Like, what did you talk about?" "Well, we talked about work, kids, plans." And I realized, I never really talked about emotions or what I'm feeling or how things make me react. And so I never really had an intimate conversation with my first wife. And that was all pretty natural because I was living in Japan at the time, and Japanese are notorious for not sharing, personal information or personal feelings. It's all just very surface. And I started analyzing conversations with my daughter and my son, and it's like, oh my goodness, I'm not getting intimate at all with any of my family members. It's just, what did you do? What are you going to do? And that type of thing. And so now I'm trying to figure out, okay, how do I become intimate? How do I actually say what I'm thinking? And for oftentimes, I don't know what I'm thinking because I was never trained to think about what I'm thinking.
So given that his wife is a psychologist, Chris discovered that in nearly 25 years of marriage with his first wife, he never had a single intimate conversation. Can you imagine that? I mean, maybe you can, but it may sound mind-boggling, but I'm also willing to bet that more guys can relate to that than you might think. So now Chris breaks down the valuable lesson that he learned that tied all of this together, and it helped save his marriage. Just listen to this conversation.
This program really helped me sort of do an introspection on myself and listen to what I'm actually saying. And I'm like, oh my goodness, she's right. And that's the funny thing. Everything that she was saying about me was basically right.
Yeah.
Like, do I not know myself that much?
Right.
And through that introspection, I was able to figure out a lot of things. And at first, I was a little bit scared, nervous to reveal that to her. And but after a while, I just said, okay, if I don't reveal it to her, if I don't show up in this relationship, I'm going to lose it.
Right.
So
Well, the thing was, is like, Chris, is you had that. What holds guys back and off the go, a lot of them, is that they don't want to have that honest self inventory, right? You said it was like surgery on yourself almost, right? Did you say that? Right?
yeah,
It's like
something like that. Yeah.
really looking at yourself. And I was talking about this with another guy yesterday who
Mm,
saved a marriage, and he mentioned like how like you have your perspective of who you are, and you know yourself pretty well. Let's not deny that, but other people have a different perspective of you, and there are behaviors that you have that are blind to you, right? And things that you do.
mm,
And so being open to that idea allows that introspection, which allows growth. Because if you don't even have that first step down going inward, how are you going to grow, right? And so you had that humility, right? That's what you needed, was humility. The lesson we're talking about here is what's called cognitive introspection. You have to take an honest self-inventory of who you are as a person, a husband, and a father. Now, a popular story that comes to mind is A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. And I'm sure you've grown up watching some of the movies. In this story, the main character, Ebenezer Scrooge, undergoes a profound transformation by the end of the movie. He does this through the process of introspection, prompted by the visits of three different spirits or ghosts: the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future. Now, the ghost of Christmas past forces Scrooge to reflect on his earlier life upbringing, right? As memories revealing how he was just the cold, miserable old man that he was. Where the ghost of Christmas present shows Scrooge the current impact of his actions on others, particularly those who are less fortunate, prompting him to rethink his attitudes and behaviors. The ghost of Christmas future, or yet to come, it shows the future of Scrooge, where if he continues on this path, where it's going to lead him, compelling him to make those significant changes. Now, through this guided introspection, Scrooge confronts the harsh truth about his life, leading to a profound personal transformation. The process of deeply examining your thoughts, actions, and their impacts mirrors the concept of cognitive introspection. Just as Scrooge had to face uncomfortable truths about himself to grow, the dialogue that Chris had emphasizes the importance of honest self-reflection as the first step toward profound personal growth. Overcoming this part of you, it paves the way to real intimacy with her, to really honestly analyze yourself and look at what areas of your life are creating a disconnection, and then choose actively what you want instead of focusing on what you don't want, and then taking the right actions to make those changes. That's all it is in saving your marriage at the end of the day. Now, I want to address something that could benefit many of you watching this. I talked to a lot on this channel about overcoming the nice guy paradigm and how it's really damaging to your relationships and even yourself, or not just with your wife, but just everyone in your life. Now, listen to how this conversation through cognitive introspection fixed a huge problem in Chris's marriage.
And what got us to this point was she was getting tired of me not showing up. She didn't. She was getting tired of having to pull things out of me.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah, and that goes back to the idea that you were saying, Chris, about like how she didn't really know who you were. It's because with the nice guy paradigm, it's like some of our most inner thoughts and emotions we don't want to share because it's like, oh, why does she really want to know that? Right. Because there's that underlying toxic shame. It's like, how's this going to help us? How's this going to get us to where I want to go? But really, she's like, you're hiding something, you're hiding a part of yourself from me. And then like, and a lot of men don't understand too, is like, even if that thing you're hiding from her, it could not be a big deal at all. Right. But like, because you had that act of hiding something, her like protection brain, fear brain, alarm system is like, if he can hide this thing, what else is he hiding from me? So that makes
yeah.
her feel safe, right? So you can see how that all connects together, right? Now, once you do the work and take this journey inward, you'll be better equipped to apply this next lesson. It'll create a sense of stability and trust in your relationship, allowing your wife to feel safe and relax into her feminine energy, deepening the emotional connection between the two of you. Imagine her just falling into your arms, just giving her that strong masculine support, that pillar of strength. Tell me that's not attractive to her. I'll let Chris describe this one.
That's another huge thing that she actually said to me was, "You don't lead." And I'm like,
Mm.
"What do you mean I don't lead?" And it turns out that we're both very indecisive. So
Mm.
whenever she says, "So what do you want to do tonight?" You know, "Oh, anything's fine."
Yeah.
Or "What do you want to eat?" I'm good with anything. What do you want?
Right.
And so now I'm sort of, taking the lead and making these small decisions. And if there's a big decision that needs to be made, I have to be the one, or I want to be the one to bring it up and say, "Let's talk about this." And I used to not bring up topics that we need to talk about. But now I'm sort of learning how to take the lead on that, learning what needs to be talked about.
Yeah.
And the masculine frame thing, the idea that was life altering.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't
And
even know I was doing it
yeah,
or lacking it.
everything you've spoke to that you've worked on and are continue to work on just calls to that idea of being that masculine leader because that allows her to feel that safety when you kind of guide her
Mm-hmm.
along. Right? So
Yeah.
what he's talking about here is called leadership synchronicity. One of the most transformative things you can do in your marriage is to step into leadership, okay? Especially when it comes to making decisions. This doesn't mean being overbearing or controlling. Rather, it's about providing a sense of direction and stability that allows your wife to relax into her feminine energy. When both partners are constantly indecisive, it creates a mental fatigue, especially for your wife, if she feels like she has to take the lead decision on things and become masculine all the time. Studies have shown that when men take the lead, being decisive and assertive in a healthy and balanced way, it can significantly reduce this mental load on their partners. This not only helps your wife feel more secure, but it allows her to embrace her natural feminine energy, where she can feel just supported and cared for. By making those decisions, whether big or small, you're essentially telling her, "I've got this," which frees her from the constant state of vigilance and decision making and just being in her masculine, right? This is a huge issue. It's about creating space where she can feel safe and trust you again. This is what she means by trust. This dynamic doesn't just benefit her, it strengthens the connection between the two of you. By the way, just the fact that Chris took the next step going on this journey demonstrated his leadership synchronicity. See, here's the thing. I give away a ton of free valuable, right? And I always have and I always will. But Chris chose to take the next step and explore one-on-one coaching. To Chris, it was a risk, but one that he was glad he took.
Financially, it was a bit of a sacrifice, but I figured, I really want this to work out, and I don't really care about the cost at this point. So I'm like, I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna go for it, and yeah, I did it, and yeah, it really worked out. I mean, I got through just the first two levels
Mm-hmm.
um, before the results started coming, and then her revelation came um, after that, and so it was all kind of like a whirlwind of things that were happening.
If you want to take that same step that Chris did to save his marriage, click the link down below to set up a call with your marriage evaluation team. Now, this final lesson is the most powerful skill in communication with your wife. It gives you the means to turn moments of just frustration and miscommunication into opportunities for profound growth. This ensures that not only does your marriage survive, but it thrives. You build trust, emotional safety like never before. I want you to have a good listen to this, right, where I elaborate on what this powerful skill does. And of course, when you're both shut out, it's like nothing's going to get resolved. But what I've been playing with recently is the idea that whenever she's feeling that way, your automatic thought process, go back to metacognition, that automatic thought process will be like, she shouldn't feel this way, or whatever defensive statement, or I'm gonna shut down. If she's gonna be this way, I'm gonna be, whatever the narrative is, right? It doesn't matter. The thing is that your brain will naturally want to go in protection mode because that's what our ego does. It protects us before anything else. We go towards protection instead of openness first. That's how we survive, right? The game is survival. And so if you can have a conscious override of that narrative and by saying like, okay, she feels this way right now. First, having conscious awareness, that's key. Like you have to have that calm, not reacting, right? And then as soon as you do that, you're like, okay, what should I think here? And the process is always to go what I call with the river, which means if she's upset right now, going with the river is saying to yourself, she should be upset. Whether I intended to make her upset or not, she is, therefore she should. Right. Or like, yeah, she's mad right now. Great. That's fine. And even saying that, you're just like tense and you go, let's relax. Right.
Mm.
And you're just like, like next time she's upset, just like, she should be guarded right now. And like even double down, like I want her to feel this way because that's she's protecting herself. That's all she knows what to do, right? And like those self statements to yourself, like taking over that like narrative, it allows you to relax. And when you relax, you get more open with her. You lean in. You understand her more. Like you're present with her. And then paradoxically, those 4-day fights turn into like the one night fight because you're genuinely there with her in that present moment, right? And you're not trying to end her conflict, end her dark mood, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's okay to be that way. And that's what she needs. And that more than anything is the most powerful skill during those moments, is to allow it to happen. Did you get all that? I'm talking about something I call reactive override. You must override your natural response to put your defenses up amidst her conflict and to retreat away from it, or to try to really end that conflict, if you will. Instead, what you're doing is leaning into her, listening to her, and showing her that you can handle her darkest moods. When you do this, you're sending her the message that I love you and I'm here for you no matter what. That's what she sees, that's what she feels. It's a cognitive skill that takes practice, but you achieve it by making statements to yourself in those moments. You say to yourself, she should be upset. She should feel this way. Not she shouldn't. That shouldn't creates that disconnect, that arguing with reality that creates the conflict and the stress and just all the issues, okay? Making those self-statements, it'll help you override that narrative of I must protect myself and help you avoid reacting defensively. Here's a great analogy that really paints a clear picture of all this. I was reading this thing from this guy named, I forgot his last name, but like Musashi something. He was like the best samurai of all time, or the most famous samurai. And he was saying how like in battle, samurais would love to go to battle. Like they wanted to fight. Dying was an honor. And it's like, not that you create fights just to create them with her, but like when you're in it, you're like, let's go. We're here. I'll be present. It doesn't mean you're ready to fight her to get defensive. You're like, I'm going to lean into you. I'm going to listen to you. I'm your negative emotions. I can deal with them, because if you feel that you can deal with her dark moods, she's like, wow, this man loves me, right? He's here. He's not going anywhere. I feel safe with him. I love that samurai reference because there are so many parallels there. A samurai sword is not just a weapon of attack, but a tool of precision and restraint. He doesn't draw his sword in haste. He waits, assesses, and only acts with intentionality and purpose. And in the movie, The Last Samurai, probably my favorite movie of all time, there's a powerful moment during the final battle. This is when Tom Cruise's character, Nathan Algren, and Katsumoto stand calmly amidst the chaos of war. As the enemy fires volleys of bullets, they don't react impulsively or rush into action. Instead, they wait with deliberate patience, allowing the first and second volleys to pass. Only then do they fire back with the precision and actions calculated and intentional. And this moment perfectly illustrates the essence of reactive override, staying composed and controlled, even under intense pressure, to respond in the most effective way possible. And look at the positive impact it had on Chris's marriage.
That would be the second win. The second biggest win was when she actually said, I feel safe with you now. I'm like,
oh, wow.
Really? I'm not even, I wasn't even sure what I actually did. Well, I mean, aside from everything else, but what brought that comment out in that moment? I was like, oh, I'm glad. I'm very glad.
Nice.
But yeah.
If you want to check out another man who saved his marriage when his wife was actually seeing another man, go ahead and click that right there. Smash like on the button and subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.